A machine that ticks once a year?
Okay, picture this. Deep inside a mountain out in West Texas, there's this massive mechanical clock being built. I mean, it's hundreds of feet tall, and it's designed to keep time for the next 10,000 years. Yeah, this isn't just some project, it's more like a pilgrimage. And the scale of this thing, it's just mind-boggling. It's meant to match the scale of civilization itself. So get this, it only ticks once a year. The century hand moves once every 100 years, and a cuckoo only comes out on the millennium. It completely slows down our idea of time, right? It forces you to think on a whole different level, way beyond our own lives, beyond entire nations.
So you're probably wondering, why 10,000 years? What's so special about that number? Well, it's because that's roughly how old modern civilization is, going all the way back to the last ice age. So what the clock does is it puts us right now in the middle of this huge 20,000-year story. It's this incredible optimistic statement, right? It's basically saying we believe we've got a future that's just as long as our past.
So, at its heart, this clock is a symbol. The inventor, Danny Hillis, he wanted to build something that makes the deep future feel, well, real, tangible. It's an artifact that's supposed to make us stop and ask ourselves a really important question. Are we being good ancestors?
But, okay, this brings up a huge, huge engineering problem. I mean, how on earth do you build a machine that's going to outlast any government, any empire, any culture that has ever existed? Think about that for a second.
Well, the design team came up with 5 key principles. But the first one, maintainability, it's genius. The idea is that the clock can be repaired using Bronze Age technology. Simple, pre-industrial tools. So even if all our fancy tech gets lost to time, future generations can still figure it out and keep it running. And to make sure it lasts, they're using these incredibly durable materials, like stainless steel and titanium. But the real clever part is in the little details. See, because the parts move so incredibly slowly, we're talking some parts barely move in a human lifetime, there's a real danger they could just fuse together. So to get around that, they're using these special ceramic bearings that won't rust, and, get this, they don't need any lubrication at all.
But this is where the story takes a really sharp turn, because at the exact same time we're building this amazing symbol of hope, we're also dealing with the exact same 10,000-year problem, but with the complete opposite goal. One is an open invitation, the other is a terrifying warning.
We've created nuclear waste. Contaminated tools, dirt, all sorts of stuff. And it's going to stay deadly for over 10,000 years. And the problem isn't just about finding a place to bury it. The real challenge is making sure that no one, for the next 500 generations, ever digs it up by accident. This problem was so big, so weird, that it actually created a whole new field of study called nuclear semiotics. And their job is basically to solve an impossible communication problem. How do you shout, "Stay away, this place will kill you," to someone 10,000 years in the future? Someone who won't speak our languages, won't recognize our symbols, won't know anything about our culture. So you have these places like the Waste Isolation Pilot Plant, or WIPP. The waste there is buried super deep underground in this ancient, stable salt bed. But when geologists looked at it, they realized the biggest threat wasn't going to be an earthquake or a leak. The biggest threat was us, future humans, people who might stumble on it out of curiosity or because they're looking for resources and have no idea what they've just found. So how do you warn them off? One of the most fascinating ideas was to just ditch language completely. Instead, you'd physically change the landscape itself to make it feel wrong, to make it feel dangerous and hostile on a gut level. So here's one of the concepts. It's called the spike field. Just imagine a huge forest, but instead of trees, it's made of enormous, sharp granite spikes just bursting out of the ground. The whole point is to make it impossible to cross, and to send a message of pure threat without needing a single word. And here's another one, the landscape of thorns. Think of these jagged, chaotic shapes erupting from the earth. It's designed to look totally unnatural, like the earth itself is scarred and poisoned in this one spot. The goal is to create this deep feeling of something is wrong here, that anyone from any culture would understand. But, and this is the huge but, here's the paradox. Just think about the pyramids, right? They were meant to be tombs, sealed forever. But because they were so huge and impressive, they became magnets for treasure hunters. So any giant warning sign we build, no matter how scary we try to make it, could just be seen by some future archaeologist as a sign that we buried something really, really valuable there.
So realizing that giant, scary buildings might not work and could even make things worse, the researchers started exploring some really wild ideas about how to bake the warning right into culture itself.
Okay, so one idea was to create what they called an atomic priesthood. Yeah, you heard that right. This would be a new kind of religion of experts whose only job is to preserve the knowledge of the danger. They'd use rituals, myths, and create this powerful taboo against ever going to that place and pass it down from one generation to the next.
And if you thought that was strange, how about this one? Ray cats. The idea here was to genetically engineer cats, because, they live with humans everywhere, so that their fur would change color whenever they're near radiation. Then you'd create myths, songs, and stories all over the world that warn people if your cat changes color, it's a sign of terrible danger and you have to get out of there. A living alarm system.
Then there was the plant-based idea. Information plants or atomic flowers. You'd engineer special flowers that could only grow on top of these nuclear waste sites, and inside their very DNA, you would encode data about the repository. Basically, a self-replicating biological keep-out sign. So, at the end of the day, we're left with these two epic 10,000-year projects. They both come from the same kind of long-term thinking, but they're for completely opposite reasons. They really are two sides of the same human coin. You've got the clock, which is all about optimism. It's an invitation. It's a puzzle for the future to solve. It's our way of saying, we believe in you. And then you have the markers, which are all about responsibility and fear. They're a locked door, a warning that screams, stay away from our mistakes because we couldn't fix them. And all of this leaves us with a really big, provocative question about who we are right now. When future generations, if they're around, look back at us, what will they see as our defining 10,000-year legacy? Will it be the beautiful monuments we built out of hope? Or will it be the tombstones we had to create to mark the dangerous things we were forced to bury?